Hey, what's going on guys? Look what I have here, the Vivo X300 FE. My friend was kind enough to lend it to me for some time, so this is not going to be as comprehensive as my videos usually are, but should give you a good idea. I will also compare this against the Motorola Signature because I think it makes sense as it is also a camera focused flagship with the same SoC at a pretty value for money price point. When it comes to the build and design, I love what Vivo has done. I love this design and especially this color. The size and weight is ever so slightly more than my Galaxy S26, but at the same time the X300 FE is packing a much larger battery and better camera hardware. The Motorola is a much bigger device and I don't personally like the materials, but I must say Moto has managed to make it very light and it is much slimmer than the X300 FE. One thing I must say I'm quite disappointed about is in seeing USB 2 on a premium device like this. It's very disappointing to me to see OEMs still sticking with USB 2 with no display output given the fact that Google is trying to position Android as a desktop grade operating system. The Motorola on the other hand has USB 3.2 Gen 1 with DisplayPort Alt mode which allows you to use the phone as a desktop by connecting to any external monitor and also high speed 5 gigabits per second data transfer. When it comes to the displays, the Vivo X300 FE is the brightest, the Moto being dimmest in comparison. The Moto Signature is more than bright enough but pales in comparison to the Vivo and Samsung. This is an HDR video clip and the Vivo is clearly the brightest, followed very closely by Samsung, and then Moto is quite a bit behind. When it comes to performance, the Vivo is really not tuned for it. The peak performance in 3D Mark on the Vivo is what the Moto maintains for its average. The peak performance on the Moto is 32% higher than the Vivo and the lowest performance is 70% higher than Vivo. I think Vivo is heavily relying on whitelist to unlock full performance and requires Antutu mods to cheat, or Vivo has deliberately tuned it to be very conservative. I did a quick emulation test with GTA 5, same emulator configuration, same graphics settings. Launch time is much faster with Moto. When it comes to performance, in an unthrottled state, the Moto is pushing more than 3 times the power and 2.5 times the frame rate as you can see. Even after throttling, the Moto is pushing 2x the power and performing 2x better. I don't recommend either for gaming, but based on my small tests, the Motorola is more suitable for gaming and heavy tasks compared to the Vivo. Okay, so let's head to the main event, that is the camera. This is not going to be as in-depth as my usual camera reviews due to lack of time, but this should give you a very good idea. Okay, I want to start with portrait mode actually. For main camera portrait mode, I find Motorola to offer better edge detection as you can clearly see here. Moto's edge detection is actually quite unbelievably good. Both cameras preserve a good amount of details, but I find that for portraits, Moto's processing is a bit more organic compared to the more over-sharpened look on the Vivo. For 3 times portraits, both forcefully cropping on the telephoto sensor to 85mm, the Moto's edge detection is clearly on another level compared to Vivo, which is quite shocking to me. It is crazy good being able to separate thin strands of hair. The image processing is also quite a bit more natural in my opinion. I also noticed that Vivo uses AI a lot more aggressively. We will see in more examples later, but take a look at the earrings on the Vivo. The AI on the Vivo has basically changed the earrings. It is not like this in real life, guys. Vivo just gave her new earrings. For regular images with the main camera, I prefer the Vivo. I have said it time and again that Motorola is not able to take full advantage of the powerful LYT-828 main sensor with the stock camera app, which is why I use LMC Gcam for that. I don't like Moto's processing for the main camera, it looks too compressed and over sharpened. For HDR scenes, both do a great job, but I prefer Vivo's approach. The image is less sharpened and the white balance is more accurate. Also, more shadows are maintained, which gives the images a bit more natural look. For telephoto camera, I prefer the Motorola. Both are neck and neck, but I prefer the processing on the Moto as this time Vivo does more sharpening and also uses bit too much AI. Like take a look at these text on these photos. Clear AI artifacts on the Vivo. One major point of interest for you guys may be the fact that the X300 FE is going to support Vivo's 200mm teleconverter lens for the best-in-class long-range zoom shots. For ultra-wide, Motorola is much wider, probably the widest in the industry, and does provide better quality than the Vivo due to the much better sensor. For selfies though, I prefer Vivo. The Motorola is just too faded, although you can add contrast and saturation in post. The Vivo just gives better ready to use results. For videos, first of all, Vivo is more feature packed. It can do real 120 fps in 4K, not limited to slow motion only. It also has a proper pro video mode with a lot more frame rate options and also the ability to disable noise reduction, which is a great feature when you want complete control over the image. For main camera 4K 60 fps using auto mode, I prefer the Vivo just slightly over the Motorola. The image is slightly less over sharpened and also slightly less compressed, and stabilization is better. For telephoto 4K 60 fps, I definitely preferred the Vivo. Motorola is just too over sharpened. For ultra-wide, Motorola is the clear winner. The Vivo X300 FE, being such a premium phone, is shamefully limited to 1080p 30 fps and the quality is very bad. Motorola isn't going to blow your mind or anything, but clearly much better with 4K 60 fps on the ultra-wide. Both devices can do 4K 120 fps, but Vivo can do 120 fps in regular auto mode and pro video mode. Meanwhile, Motorola, you have to rely on slow motion. But I do find the quality of Motorola slow motion at 4K 120 fps to be quite a bit better. As you can see, the Vivo is very over sharpened and low resolution looking. Alright guys, so that's it for this comparison. I don't know what kind of conclusion should I draw because I don't know the exact price of the Vivo X300 FE, but I'm sure it's going to be at least 60,000 rupees for the base 12 to 256GB model. And at that price, it is quite disappointing to see the non-inclusion of USB 3 and a bad ultra-wide. The positives include a great build quality and design, huge battery, good main camera image processing and pro tools for video recording, and support for the game-changing 200mm teleconverter lens. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Make sure to hit like, share and subscribe. Take care and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.